All right, we are here and we get to talk about hope, my favorite subject. Well, yours too, I guess, right? So as
Yes.
people are coming in, we can see from your pillow what this is going to be about. Go ahead and tell us a little bit more about Hope. Kathleen Beachboard. Welcome to the Thrively webinar.
Thank you, Jeanette. Hope is my favorite subject. I am so excited to be here with you and the participants. I have tons and tons of tools to share with everyone. First thing I'm going to do is in the chat, I'm going to share a link to the presentation that we're going to be on today. So this is actually part of a two-part series that I'm going to be doing, featuring the work that I've been doing in my research, and that is featured also in my book and my TED Talk that recently came out on using the science of hope to impact success and life outcomes for, well, everybody, from not just students, but also students and staff. So I'm going to grab this link. I'm going to throw it in our chat for all the participants, and anybody who watches this afterwards. Jeanette is also going to put this link in with the webinar itself for access. Okay. So part one, today's main focus is to learn about hope itself and to understand how we can use it effectively to impact staff retention, as well as student well-being and student achievement, and also make sure that we are helping and supporting our most vulnerable people inside the school buildings.
So you're telling me this four-letter word can impact all of those things?
All of the things. It's the most powerful thing in the universe. And I really thoroughly, truly believe that, but also the research shows that. And that's what we're going to look at today. It's not going to be me telling you this. You're going to look at actual scientific research today. You're going to learn about hope. You're going to learn about your own hope. Participants at home, I would recommend getting a sheet of paper and a pen or a pencil, because you're even going to measure your own hope today. We're going to do it old school, where we're going to be doing a little bit of math, but it's okay. You guys are going to love this. So those of you who are already on the document, I'm going to share my screen and take you into today's webinar. And thanks for everybody for coming. I'm so excited. This is my favorite thing. The more I can spread hope, the more I want to do it as many places as humanly possible. Okay. And Jeanette, also thank you for hosting.
Of course, happy to be here. I know my hope level will go up after this. I did ask in the chat too, for all of you who are joining right now, what are you hopeful about and where are you calling in from? I see a couple of familiar names, so thank you for being here.
Yay, familiar names. All right, so first and foremost, why is hope necessary right now? If you look at what's going on right now in society, we have all been through a widespread trauma. No, I haven't. I'm fine. No, there was a point in time when everything that was safe and reliable started to disappear or go away completely. Look at school, look at toilet paper, I mean, there's a lot of things that changed, especially in the midst, the very beginning of the pandemic. And the things that were safe, they were no longer safe. And so that impacted not just students, but also their parents and also the staff members. But this is one of the most shocking things. So in October of 2021, the American Academy of Pediatrics, the Children's Hospital Association, and the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry, they declared a national state of emergency. And this state of emergency has not been lifted. It is still in effect right now. So what does that mean? So right now, here's what's going on. We have people, our students, they're going to the hospital either with extreme anxiety, severely depressed, even suicidal ideations. And they're going to the hospital and they're being referred out to services. But here's the problem. The wait list for a psychologist just in my area alone, which is Virginia, is 18 to 24 months. And that's even if you're severely in need of assistance. And so I've heard educators say, well, that's the counselor's job. Our counselors are overwhelmed right now with typical, 100 to up to 500 kids on their caseload on top of all of this trauma. It's a lot. And also, I already mentioned this, but it's not just the students who are impacted. It was also the staff. And when we went back, for those of you who are in here, you can't say that school wasn't a little bit harder when coming back after they were gone. Why? Because over the course of time, our brain builds neural pathways to certain responses. And during the pandemic, it was a flight, freeze, or flop response. So we were going into our amygdala brain. And because we did it so often, guess what? It created a neural pathway. Neural pathways are not instantaneously transformed. So the things that I'm going to show you will not instantaneously fix everything. This is a process, but it's a process where we can have a giant impact on the outcome of our kids. How do you know that? Well, this is my life. And when I say that, I'm not just saying as an educator, as a parent. So I have 7 children. 5 of my 7 children were adopted out of a case of extreme abuse and neglect. And I thought as an educator, I'm like, oh, well, I've been trauma trained. I've got this. No, I'm being honest with you right now. I did not have this in any way, shape, or form. When the kids showed up, I'm going to tell you the amount of trauma, it was horrendous. We read a report from a veteran police officer saying that when he picked them up, there were mountains of trash bags, flies, maggots, gnats. My youngest was drinking out of a tobacco-filled cup, and the kids had bruises all over them. And the day they showed up, I'm telling you, they ran into a corner and started huddle hugging and crying. And I'm trying to build a relationship because we know that helps trauma. But here's the thing. In that moment where I was at my deepest point of struggle, I literally was Google searching how to fix broken children. And what I discovered was one of the many pieces of powerful research on what hope can do. Hope is one of the most powerful tools that we can use to help not just our students, but our staff and our school cultures have a positive cognitive asset that can not only build resiliency, but achievement and success, making us feel supported, loved, and cared for. It won't fix systematic issues, but what it will do is help us where we are. And that's what we need right now. So why hope? So with my kids, this is one of the first studies, and this probably looks familiar to some of you. You'll be like, wait a minute, didn't I learn this in my teacher education class? Yeah, you probably did, child development. So one of the first stages, according to Erickson's stages of psychosocial development, is trust versus mistrust as a baby. So you cry, wah, 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 wah. Why do you do that? Because you hope that someone will pick you up and take care of you. Now, because you're here right now, I know you have hope. Every person in this webinar has hope, but it's the amount of hope you have that is critical for your future success. So you develop that hope as a baby. Then what happens next? Okay, so this is where the research comes in. I don't want to just tell you what hope does. I want you to see the research studies itself. So I see a lot of you are in this webinar. If you want to go ahead and click, and Jeanette, if anybody came in late, if you want to repost that link in the chat to the slideshow, that would be awesome. You're my hero. Thank you so much.
Oh, you are mine. I will put that, and I will also put the link that is here. So you guys, yes. This is chock full of amazing, awesome research. So
this research is not from me. This is research I've compiled, and I started compiling it, like I said, a while ago, because when I got my kids, I wanted something that wouldn't just be a Band-Aid. I wanted something that would change their brain for the better. Change their brain? Yes, because we know trauma changes the brain. We know that. We know that it's associated with negative life outcomes. I wanted something that would push back against all of the adversity and negativity that is associated with trauma in the brain, that could actually help them almost recover from their trauma. Recover from trauma? Yeah, build resilience in them. And so this research that you guys are clicking on is a giant research folder. So here's what I want you to do. It has tons of research studies. All I want you to do is you can click on any folder. We're not really in groups. You can click on group 1, group 2, group 3. And right now in the chat, I want you to write something that you think, wonder, or surprises you as you look through these studies. I'm not asking you to read 23 pages of a research study because there's a lot of research studies in there. Each group has different research studies, but as you look inside of those folders, this is where I want you to tell me what you see and what you think and what you wonder, and just fill up the chat with the things that you're seeing. And Jeanette, do we have the ability to unmute? Because if anybody wants to actually talk about what they see as we go through the research, I would love for you to actually chime in on a webinar. Yeah, because this isn't just my voice. This research started way before me. It started with the founder of Psychological Hope, which was Dr. Snyder, and it's continued. And this is why I do what I do. I want you to see the impact and the different things hope can do, because it's not just one-sided. It's just like trauma can have lots of negative outcomes. Wait till you see what hope can do.
I am going to promote. So we have a nice group here. I'm going to promote everyone to being able to speak. Doesn't mean you have to, but yes, as Kathleen has asked, put something that you wonder that you've noticed in the chat, or feel free to unmute and join us. So,
and you could just look at the title of the studies. I am so excited for you to see some of the research. And this is not all of the research. I had to cut it down from 300 or so studies and bring it down some. But I would love for you, if you want to say something, I want your voice to be heard too, because we are powerful together, as you will see.
Now, I loved what you did. I was fortunate enough to attend. Kathleen spoke live here in Colorado, and this is something you can do if you happen to be running PDs in your school, but simple Post-it notes up on the walls, and you had each table, had some research articles on there, and you had them read it and just put up 5 bullet points. What were some of the things that they pulled from this? And again, they didn't read the whole thing, but they read, the main idea and some of the results. And it was profound. I learned a lot just from that whole activity. So that's something you guys can take this research and do with your own staff.
Oh, yeah. Because it's one thing if one person says it, but it's another if you read studies from a whole bunch of different people and they're all confirming the same types of things.
Yeah. I'm actually going to pull up. Paul, yep. Hope mediates anxiety and lets you think clearly, even in a moment of stress. Absolutely. Paul, I'm sure you haven't had any stress in your life recently, right? I know Paul and I have had wonderful conversations, and she is very hopeful, but think about when you are in anxiety, when you are in moments of stress, what is your initial response to that? What have you seen others do? I was sharing with Kathleen last night just the difference between how my husband and I approach things. And I was convinced he had lower hope than I did. And then I had him take the hope survey and he had higher hope than I did. I was like, what? That's not possible. But again, he's had lots of experience in anxiety because he worked at the Board of Trade for so long. He's really worked through that. That's a perfect one, Paul. Thanks for sharing that.
You're welcome.
And I've missed you. Anyone else want to share?
I missed you too so much. Glad to see you.
Yes, glad you're okay down there in Florida too, I hope.
Yes, thank God.
Excellent.
That caused a lot of stress.
Yes, okay. Right. Yes. Paul, Kathleen, you guys have now met. Paul is an amazing educator down in the state of Florida and changes lives every day as well. So,
Oh, thank you. Thanks.
yeah. But
Kathleen, I
anyone
can't
else?
get enough of your work. I tell you, I spend days just looking at your material, reading your book, taking notes.
Yay. And the thing is, this is something that you that you just brought up, is that, yeah, there we go. But our kids are gonna go through trauma. They're gonna go through trials. They're gonna go through tribulations. And so if they're going to face these things, one of the greatest gifts we can give them, as you look through this research, is hope. Hope does not take away the pain of the trial. It didn't take away the crazy hurricane in Florida. But what it did do is those people who were higher in hope, which I bet you are, is the fact that they were able to think, they were able to set goals despite the trials they faced, and they were able to endure.
Yeah.
So anyone else with the research? I'm going to pull up this one. This is kind of like a cheat sheet of some of the amazing studies that a lot of educators were like, whoa, it does what? Just looking at the titles on this slide, on slide 5, for those of you who are researching, or if you found something interesting, I'm going to give you another minute or so I can get into the nitty gritty of hope.
You know, look at this middle bottom one. Hope as a mediator of bullying involvement and emotional difficulties in children. I was sharing with Kathleen before this. I taught 7th grade my whole career. There was a lot of this. I wish I would have had this when I was in the classroom. And I can imagine the impact it would have made. And here, hope mediates the relationship between socioeconomic status and academic achievement. I taught in some of the toughest areas in Chicago. Again, we have to use this. This is so impactful.
And the thing that shocks a lot of people, especially, is hope uniquely predicts objective academic achievement above intelligence, personality, and previous academic achievement. What? Yeah. I mean, that's drop the mic. This helps our kids. And I'm going to tell you how I wandered in on this. So when my children showed up, I needed something. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I need something to fight their trauma. And it said, form a good relationship. I was trying, and they were huddle hugging and crying. It wasn't working. And so when I started reading about hope, our society, we've made hope into a mix of wishful thinking and luck, sort of like a decrepit fairy godmother. But that's not what it is. You see all these studies here and you see what it does. And the thing is, hope is more powerful than we've ever known. And society has sort of written about it in historical documents and religious texts all throughout the years, and they've never used hope as wishful thinking in any way, shape, or form. And so you're going to see that the science of hope, the psychological hope, is not wishful thinking and luck. And it's something that is measurable and it is malleable. So for any administrators, when you say, oh, I know I've got a great culture in my building. Okay, well, if you do, then you should also measure it. Measure it? Yes, you can measure culture by the hope in the building. You can measure the well-being of your staff by the hope in the building. And their well-being is important. Why? Because if your staff is not hopeful, there's this thing called emotional contagion that we're going to look at. And that's going to be the models that we're giving to the students. So this is not a one-side approach. This is why it's called the School of Hope. It's administrators taking care of the staff, and then the staff taking care of the students. It's creating a system so the well-being of everyone is being taken care of by utilizing every person in the building and utilizing their strengths and talents and abilities to raise each other up. Our strength makes us stronger. Iron sharpens iron. So that's kind of what this is. So when you look at hope in the brain, and did anybody else want to say any last minute things about the research? Because I want to keep going so we can end the first part on time where we get all our research. Okay. I'm going to keep going. All right. So this is hope in the brain. So this is an fMRI brain scan of a high hope individual. You see that little blue dot? That's where your hope exists, in your medial orbital frontal cortex. That's your thinking brain. It's in your prefrontal cortex. Now, what's interesting is as your hope levels go up, the impact of anxiety and the stress on your brain go down. What? Yeah, it doesn't take away, like I said, the pain or the trials, but what it does do is it allows you not to go into that amygdala, fight, flight, freeze, flop. So our kids, when they came back, guess what? They had been living in amygdala central. And so there was more fighting in schools. And a lot of people were surprised. They're like, it feels like these kids don't even know how to do school anymore. That was true. They've been in a fight, flight, freeze, or flop response for so long, it's going to take time to get them out of it. But using hope can help that time be decreased. So they're not only back to where they are, they're above where they are. So they're not just surviving, so they're starting to thrive. So in this, what is hope? Psychologist Dr. Rick Snyder, he's the founder of hope theory. He defined hope as three things. First, we have goals. That's at the very top. And that's your what power. Agency. That's your willpower. And pathways. That's your ability to form a path to your goals. So goals, pathways, and agency combine together to form psychological hope. And like I said, we all have hope, but it's the amount of hope that's critical. And now I'm going to tell you a quick story. So Dr. Snyder went on Good Morning America to do a live science experiment where he showed the world the power of hope. And this is crazy. He went on live TV, Good Morning America, and this didn't get really into education at all. So what he did was on Good Morning America, he took the host, the medical expert, and the weatherman all into a back room. He came out with a small slip of paper, and then he told all three participants they would be participating in the cold presser task. Now, I know that sounds fancy, but it basically means you're going to stick your hand in icy water and leave it there for as long as humanly possible. So all three men stuck their hand in the icy water. After a few minutes, though, the weatherman, he couldn't stand it. He pulled his hand out. He was quickly followed by the medical expert. Then the host heard they were about to go to commercial break. Remember, this is live TV. So he vowed to leave his hand in the icy water until the end of the break. After a few agonizing minutes, he pulled his hand out, cold, confused, and wet. And he questioned Dr. Snyder. He said, "What does hope have to do with icy water and my winning this ice challenge?" To which Dr. Snyder then showed the world, "Before the test, I measured your hope." You can measure hope. Yep, we're going to do it today, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to have you measure yours in about a minute. And he said it was the hope of the host that accurately predicted he would come in first. He had the highest hope score, followed by the medical expert, followed by the weatherman. Each of their scores accurately predicted which place they would come in. And he was like, "What? Well, how does that work?" And then Dr. Snyder replied, "Hope allows you to access the deep reserves of your potential to endure and reach your goals despite the trials or the obstacles you face. It is something all of us have the ability to access, and it can change the game for our kids. It can give them that drive to keep going, to keep reaching, to keep dreaming, even in the face of adversity. That is what hope is." So now that I told you that he measured their hope, you want to see how he measured it? I know you do. This is where if you have a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil, I recommend grabbing it because we're going to write this down. And I know we're doing this old school, but I'm going to tell you Thrively has a gift for you that you can measure your hope. You can measure your students' hope and your staff hope way easier than this math that we're about to do. All right, so here's what we're going to do.
And here's a reminder, Kathleen, remember, you can take this. Does it change? If you've taken it already, does it change?
It is possible if you work on your hope to have it changed.
And it could go down too, but we hope not, because you're going to be a part of this great learning environment.
So your hope level, first thing you need to know, it's fairly malleable. If you work on it, it can change. Now, The best thing is, if you get to the top, we want to get every person, every staff member, every child to the top of the hope mountain. Why? Because right now you're living your life this way. I don't know where your hope is. We're going to measure it right now. But if you don't know the top of the hope mountain exists, it's as foreign as saying that there are mermaids or fairies. You don't believe in it. But to feel that positive cognition at least once, your brain will remember the pathway to it and you will seek it again. It means you'll go through things, death, divorce, darkness. But because you've been up there, guess what? You'll get back there. But if you've never been there, you have to actively work on it. And that's what the research shows. All right, so now we're going to measure our hope. So first thing, on a Likert scale from definitely false, that means you choose a number between 1 and 8. 1 means nope, not me. 8 means yeah, that's me all the time. You can choose where you fall in that scale, 1 to 8. I want you to answer these 12 questions. And I'm going to read them out loud, and then we're going to do some quick addition. So number 1, I can think of many ways to get out of a jam. Give yourself a rating between 1 and 8. All right, we're writing it down. Number 2, I energetically pursue my goals. Once again, give yourself a score between 1 and 8. 1's nope, 8's yeah all the time. Number 3, I feel tired most of the time. I'm a teacher. I'm a teacher too. Like I was in the classroom today. But remember, we also know that adults tend to manipulate psychological assessments. So there's stuff built in here just to make sure that doesn't happen. So once again, 1 to 8. Number 4, there are lots of ways around any problem. Right? Number 5, I'm easily downed in an argument. Number 6, I can think of many ways to get the things in life that are important to me. All right. Number 7, I worry about my health. Number 8, even when others get discouraged, I know I can find a way to solve the problem. Number 9, my past experiences have prepared me well for my future. Number 10, I've been pretty successful in my life. Number 11, I usually find myself worrying about something. And number 12, I meet the goals that I set for myself. All right, now to do some basic addition, just like what it says over here, you're going to add up, sum up 2, 9, 10, and 12. So you'll say, all right, I got this on number 2, number 9, add this to number 10, add it to number 12. That'll give you your agency score. So get that number. Then you're going to add up number 1, number 4, number 6, and number 8. That will give you your pathway score. All right, now, then you got to do one more step. The last step is to add up both numbers, and that'll give you your overall hope score. Now, I know what you're thinking. Where's the goal score? There is no goal score. Why? Because people are naturally goal directed. We all have goals. Like you this morning said, I'm going to go to this webinar tonight with Kathleen. Bam, you had a goal. But hope impacts the type of goals that you set for yourself, as you'll see in the next webinar. So now that you have these scores, what do they mean? If you happen to score between, for agency and pathways, it's the same score. If you want to know if you're, am I high? If you got between 20 and 32 for agency or pathways, those are considered high. And then for your overall hope score, if you got between 40 and 64, that's considered a high hope score. All right, well, what if it's low? Here's the cool thing. Hope is malleable. Just like any test, if you know which section that you got lowest, or if you are low, you can work on it and increase it within 90 minutes of intervention. 90 minutes, that's amazing. So instead of doing math, I want to show you what Thrively's done with this. And you can sign up for a free account because this is free because I'm an educator. And I told Thrively, I was like, I want this test to be free to give to kids. So hold on, let me click. Whoa, it kind of went crazy.
All right, so when your students
okay, so this has now gone from
they
that ugly
choose
thing.
where they're at, click next, and it's the same thing for all the questions. Remember, this is the adult one, so it's 12 questions. Theirs is less, so it'll take less time. And spreads hope for the students to.
Look at that. It does all the math for you and it tracks it. Woo! So once you have this, what can you do with it? First of all, you can have a tiered system of support for your students. A tiered system of support? Yeah, it's possible. And we're going to talk about this more in the next webinar. But the first thing you can do is if you just, for example, take the hope of your staff or the hope of your students, once you get that, you want to take those low hope babies and put them with the high hope babies. What? That's how my seating chart is. I have hopeful students sprinkled around the low hope students. Why? Because high hope will transfer to the low hope students over the course of 6 to 8 weeks. It's the same thing giving a high hope mentor to a teacher who's new on staff. You are supporting them by giving them those thinking patterns and that thought process that is high hope to the other staff member. Won't the low hope impact the high hope? The answer is it will temporarily, but they'll go straight back up, which is what I already told you. So it's a quick way to improve the hope of our students. And all you did was change where they sit. And with that, you're going to see that it's going to help them. It's going to support them. I had a student today who was like, wait, I really am interested in going to college. He's next to a high hope student. The high hope student said, well, have you gone to a college visit yet? Have you taken the SAT? Have you done this? And he was like, what? I have to do all these things? Yes. And then not only that, he invited him to a college visit this weekend that he's going on. Think of that. I didn't even do that. I set up my classroom so those moments would happen. It's scaffolding for our kids just by where they sit because hope is contagious. Now, I was going to go more in depth. Jeanette, do we have another minute or is this it? Because I'm trying to.
We do have another minute. Yes, we do. Because we set this for 45 minutes. So.
Yes, we have more time. Okay, so next time when we get together, if you measure your students' hope or measure your staff hope, either or on Thrively, and you bring that data with you, I'm going to walk you through tools with here's what we've done today is we have learned about the basics of hope. So right here, we've learned about goals. We've learned about pathways, we've learned about agency. But what I'm going to do for you is I'm going to show you how to use the information from my book and the tools on Thrively to help teachers with those 3 areas and also to help students with those 3 areas. So this is a whole school approach. And you will get free copies of every single one of these items inside the next webinar, Google copies that you can modify as a make it, take it. But before you leave, I want to talk about modifying your own hope. So you came to this webinar, you've taken your own hope level. How can you increase it? Here's how. I want to give you a quick takeaway. These 3 things, it's called the 3 C's of hopeful thinking. If you use consuming, collaboration, and creating, you can increase your hope score and protect it from taking dips. Protect it? Yeah, because you deal with a lot of trauma, especially if you're an educator right now. And so you have to protect your own hope. And here's how. The first one is with consuming. Let's be honest. How many of you just passively scroll social media and kind of zone out? Yeah, it's a thing. Or randomly click through information to just see what pops up. That's dangerous. Why is it dangerous? Because in psychology, we know what we think and believe we become. And so if you want to keep your hope levels high, it's important that you create a space when you want to relax for hopeful consumption. In this space, what you can do is in the real or digital world is fill it full of motivational things and get rid of as much toxicity and negativity as you can. So if you do that, like you create a separate, for example, social media account where you just follow inspirational people who make you feel good or funny people who make you laugh. That will be a space just for you to go into to raise your hope levels, even on a hard day. Or in my classroom, I have a board filled with all of the little thank yous that I've ever gotten over the years. Why is that board important? We're all going to have bad days. And having that to look at and go to reminds me that of why I'm here, that I make a difference. So it's important to fill your real and digital world with places for hopeful consumption. The next one is collaboration. So One of the things that we know about people is they tend to congregate with people similar to themselves. So your students who might be low in hope, I bet they're grouped together and I bet they're friends with each other. Why is that? Because people tend to hang out with people similar to themselves, similar incomes, similar mentalities. And so knowing that, if you want to be more successful, what should you do? Work with more successful people, work with mentors, teachers. It doesn't matter who, but as you work with these more successful others, you're taking on what they've learned, their resources, and you can use that to increase your own hope and your own achievement and success. And the last one is creating. A lot of the times, teachers especially, and educators right now who are in this room, you have goals, but this is what you do. Oh, I really want to read this book. I'll do it at Christmas break. Oh, I really want to, run that 5K. I'll do it this summer. You can't do that. It's important that you put on your own oxygen mask to take care of your students. Make time during your day, even if it's 2 to 3 minutes, to accomplish those goals that you so eagerly want for yourself. And as you accomplish them, you'll raise your hope. And not only that, you'll raise the hope that you're bringing into your classroom. Taking 1 to 2 minutes to purposely create the day you want. I start my day off with memes and funny jokes that I get from some of my friend group. And then I purposely connect with people who make me feel good. That's my consumption. And then I end my day by creating the gratitude that I want in my classroom. And so I send 3 little gratitude emails every day. So I end my day on a positive note. Those things are important to me, and I take the steps to do them. You can't just put it off because, well, I'm a teacher. Oh, I'm an educator. I understand that. By taking time and scheduling time for your hope and your goals, whether it's writing a book, write that single page over 365 days. Guess what you have? A book. Losing weight, lose 1 pound. Over the course of a few months, guess what? You'll meet your goal weight. Don't look at things as the end result. Take action today, and you'll increase your own hope. So that was a quick takeaway. But next time, like I said, there are tools and resources that I'm going to be giving out. What? That's a surprise for next time. And we're going to go through a helpful checklist of multiple things that you can do to help with goals, pathways, and agencies for teachers and students. And those things, you don't have to do all of them. Here's the greatest thing with hope is if you start today and you just do one thing, your students and your staff are better off than when they started. All right, so I'm going to let Jeanette tell you about the end of this and take any questions. Thrively also has a little bonus package I'll let Jeanette talk about.
Well, thank you so much, Kathleen. And you're right. When I get to hang out with people like you, it does. It impacts. I'm consuming. I mean, you were very motivational. I'm trying to also, finish a dissertation, and you're so motivating and so supportive. And so, yes, that's a takeaway for all of us to make sure we surround ourselves with people that continue to get to know you. That's what Thrively is all about. We got to know our strengths. We got to encourage our strengths. We got to encourage each other because we can't necessarily control the outdoor environment. And so here, what Thrively really wants to give to you is a Hope Certification PD course for you to share with your colleagues. Again, empowering others. This Foundations of Hope Level 1 just gets you thinking about your daily practices and what you want to do. We definitely want to give you the Hope playlist and interventions she's going to dive deeper into on November 1st when we meet again. But I love, Kathleen, the fact that you are willing, the third bullet point, 1 hour of PD with Kathleen Beachboard. Okay, author, you can bring her in. She can do a Zoom with your staff. She can talk to you. She's just had a recent, she didn't even mention it because she's so humble, but she just finished her TED Talk and really has so many great resources in here to create an actionable tiered system of support for you, your staff, your colleagues, your friends in other states. It's a gift that you can give. So this package can start immediately. Normally for all of these things, you're looking at, somewhere in the neighborhood of $5,000. But I love that she's worked closely with our CEO and we are giving the 50% off webinar discount. Talk to your administrators, fill out this interest form. I'm going to put the link in the chat. Reach out to us when we're willing to work with your budgets and make sure that we give you what you need to make sure that everyone in your whole school feels hopeful. but we got to start with the adults, right? So I'm going to put this link to our form in the chat. If you have any questions, you can reach out to myself, Kathleen. I'm going to put my email address in here as well. And thank you, Kathleen, for sharing all of your information here. Whoops. Let me share that form. I want to give people a chance to fill that out if they're interested. And also, as I've invited everybody to unmute, if you have any questions, specific questions about your environment or your own personal situation. So my hope score went up, by the way. I just want to point out that in just a month, I took it a month ago. So obviously hanging out with you and everybody at Thrively has really impacted me. So I did go up 4 points. So that's a celebration.
That is a celebration.
Yeah. And, you know, I have to think, I really like that you've shared with us. I have to be metacognitive about what choices I'm making. So thank you for bringing that to the forefront. If that's all we do today, I think that can be a huge impact for us as educators and for people who are out there trying to do good in the world. So anyone out there have questions for Kathleen or anyone else on this? You're all panelists now, so an open conversation.
And if you can't make the 11-1 webinar, I just want to say it will be recorded and there will be make it, take it resources. This was just to give you a foundation of what hope is this time. But if you go and you just give the hope survey, you utilize it, and then you come back with the data or you tested a kid and you're like really curious, we're going to give you make it, take it resources next time. And they're all going to be free that you can use in the webinar for each area for students and for staff.
And I'm putting in here, so just to bookmark it for yourself, November 1st, 3:30 Pacific time, we will have our next webinar. Again, everything's recorded and all the resources will be available to you. You can probably register, we'll have that up after this webinar to be able to register for it in the next 24 to 48 hours. But Kathleen, I can't thank you enough for the work that you're doing. I know that I've shared the book with so many of my schools and school districts, and it's really making an impact. I can't wait to see and how we measure the impact that Thrively's having in partnership with you. And thank you for all of you for taking some time out of your day to be here with us. So we really appreciate it, and share it with the rest of the country as much as you can. This book is amazing. Yeah. And can I do a little plug for the book? Okay, the School of Hope book. Kathleen, again, is too modest, but all the proceeds go to Title I schools for libraries. So check it out, Corwin, Amazon, whatever you can. It's really a powerful book with some really great resources that you can use to implement tomorrow. So again, thank you for your time. And I really hope, no pun intended, that you have a great week and you're practicing the strategies that we've been given from Kathleen. So thank you.
Thank you. Woo!
You all have a great week. Bye, Paul. Great to see you.